Over the past couple months, I have had the pleasure of driving a number of new Genesis models, and this one is on track to be the most popular to date. This, my friends, is a 2022 Genesis GV70. This is the 3.5 Turbo Sport Plus model, the top end that we get here in Canada. And like I said, I think it's going to be the one people are going to be going for. Now, if you think back, we just drove the G80. That is the mid-size executive car from Genesis. This vehicle, even though it is a technical smaller vehicle, it's a compact luxury SUV, and it's an SUV. It's only about $500 less than the G80 was. This is pretty pricey, but the benefit is you're getting that 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 engine that produces 375 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque, uses an 8-speed transmission, and ours here comes all-wheel drive. So you're getting quite a lot of power in a smaller vehicle. Now, it's a good thing if you're buying this GV70 because you get all that power. Maybe not so much if you're going up for the GV80, where it is an upgraded engine, but that's a heavier vehicle, so it's not quite as quick as this. So I guess it depends on what you're going for, but this top-end Sport Plus is the only way you get this engine on the GV70. Now, we've talked about Genesis. This comes pretty much fully equipped with all the safety tech, all the real technology that you would want out of a luxury vehicle. We've got improved safety technology like the blind view monitor, 360-degree camera, navigation-based smart cruise control system. There's everything that you really want out of it that makes it worth the $75,500 Canadian. You get it all. Full LED lighting on the outside. You've got a remote starter, remote parking, so if somebody's parked a little too close to you, you can use your fob to get the car in or out of your parking spot. The only thing that you don't really get on this compared to the G80 is there's no soft closed doors. And that's fine. You don't really need it on a compact luxury SUV anyway, but in the inside, things are really nice because I don't think you're going to be able to buy this exact build because this is a Himalayan Grey paint with the Ultramarine Blue Nappa leather, and you can't do that color combination on a production vehicle, at least as of filming this. So I believe this was a pre-production one, and I do like it. The interior is fantastic. I love the blue leather. You have red stitching throughout to give it a contrast. It's quilted Nappa leather. Seats are super comfortable, and there's good space in the back seat. If you have a family, you're putting at least 2 adults in the back, they'll be comfortable. If you have a couple of kids, they'll be fine too. Trunk space, fantastic on this as well. So you're getting a lot of kit, a lot of space, a lot of power and performance out of this. And then the interior tech is good as well. We're seeing pretty much the same stuff that we've seen across the board from Genesis. The 12.3-inch 3D cluster, the 14.5-inch navigation infotainment system, fantastic. Front heated and ventilated seats with driver massage, heated outboard rear seats, tri-zone climate, interior LED lighting, side window sunshades. I mean, pretty much it's everything that we saw in the G80 in a slightly different package, and again, for about the same price. But the question is, do you buy this or a car? Do you go with the SUV? So we're going to be taking it on the road. I want to talk about how this GV70 has performed, how it does on long distance trips, and why you might want to consider this over something like the G70, but also why you might want to consider this over the other vehicles in the Genesis lineup, as well as the competition in the luxury space. All right, my friends, we're behind the wheel of the 2022 Genesis GV70. Now, I can't tell you what our 100-kilometer test loop result number was because we haven't driven this on our test loop. It has to be better than the G80 and the GV80 that we did. Shouldn't be as good as the G70, so you're looking at pretty decent fuel economy overall if you're driving this. I can tell you at least what I've done so far. I've averaged 11.1 liters per 100 kilometers, which is not amazing, but that's taking into account everything. So, you know, you're looking at pretty decent fuel economy numbers for this vehicle. It's going to be in line with the BMW X3, Mercedes GLC, things like that. This is the more sport-oriented version. Ours is called the Sport Plus, and you have a Sport Plus mode with this. This is the first that I have driven recently from Genesis. I do believe that the G70 has a Sport Plus mode. So that would be the only other one. But the idea is because this gets the big 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, you get to have a little bit more fun with it. Power to weight ratio on this is really good. The SUV form factor works out well, and since I had this literally back to back with the G80, I can tell you how it compares to that sedan. If you're in the market for it, pricing is pretty much the same. You're getting a pretty similar experience. Cargo space is close, interior passenger space is good. I'm just as comfortable in this as I was in the G80. Obviously I have a little bit more vertical space here. I sit a little bit more, you know, SUV like, because it is, but you're getting a slightly different experience with this for about the same price, which is why I think this is going to be a very popular option for people. You know, I see a lot of the GV80s on the road already. That makes sense, but that's, you know, quite a bit more than this. This being about $9,500 less than the GV80, you're getting a pretty good deal. You're getting, I'd say, about $9,000 worth of difference between this, in the sense that it is a smaller vehicle, but you're not really losing anything because you get pretty much all the same tech that you got on the GV80. You're just getting it in a slightly smaller form factor, so I do like it. Now, being in Sport Plus mode does make a difference. I can feel that the transmission has changed up. The steering as well is the biggest change you'll notice going from Comfort to Sport Plus. It really firms up. I mean, this thing feels really stiff, which is good. That's what you want. I mean, if you don't want it, just use custom mode, be able to set it up the way that you want. But the idea is you're getting that sportier experience with this, and it sounds good. It pulls good too. I don't know if we're actually going to be able to do any performance testing here, but the idea is you're getting all of what you really want out of a compact luxury crossover in a form factor that works at a price point that is really hard to beat. Yeah, I know it sounds pricey, and I know I always say that, but go out and configure a BMW X3 M40i or a Mercedes GLC 43, and you're in the market for this and more. I mean, they're not cheap vehicles, so you're going to be spending quite a bit of money. And there's a reason, because you're getting the brand name with that. You're getting the BMW badge, the Mercedes badge with it. With this, Genesis is still a newer brand, so they have a little bit more to prove. So I'd say that they're willing to do a little bit more to get people's attention, to get people excited about what they have to offer. And this is a pretty exciting offer. I like it. I like it quite a bit. Now, I don't necessarily recommend driving around in Sport Plus all the time. You can hear the transmission's not shifting up. You can put it into flat pedal mode, obviously. The one thing that I find with the Koreans, they don't put the gear in the head-up display. So that's one bummer. Maybe a little bit easier when you're using this, because it does have a beautiful head-up display. It would just be nice to be able to see what gear you're in so that you have a better opportunity to shift into the right one. But aside from that, though, I've enjoyed my experience with this. The thing is, there is really nothing new about the GV70 compared to any other Genesis I've driven so far. It's following the typical luxury car formula of Xeroxing an existing design and making it bigger or smaller, depending on what segment they want to fit this in. Is there anything wrong with that? Not necessarily. That's what everybody else does. So they're not inventing anything new here. The idea of the Genesis brand is you get a good warranty, you get at-home delivery, they'll pick up your car for service, so you don't have to necessarily deal with a dealership when you're purchasing or servicing the vehicle. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, they're doing things just slightly differently to make it a little bit more compelling for people who want to buy this type of vehicle. I like it. I mean, I have talked about this before, that Genesis is definitely the brand to be watching right now. I really enjoy driving all the vehicles that I have driven so far. And, you know, this would be the luxury brand that I would buy. I mean, between this and Lincoln, which I know is kind of strange, because for me, the reason I like Lincoln is because it's more comfort-oriented. They're going for a more traditional luxury experience. And Genesis is doing sort of a mix of the two. I mean, the G80, GV80 that we did, and even the G90 a couple years ago, I mean, those things were just superb in terms of overall comfort and luxury. This thing is a little bit more sport-oriented, which is the reason why we have a slightly different steering wheel here, the red stitching, the blue interior, and it gives you kind of a more sport-oriented experience, which is fine. So the great thing about the GV70 is you have the option. You can go full out and get this bad boy with the big engine, or you go for something that is a little bit more affordable, which is going to work out great in this size segment, no matter what. But you can save a little bit on gas, save a little bit on the upfront cost, and you're still getting a pretty good luxury SUV. So, I mean, I'm pretty impressed with this. This has worked out very well. I'm super comfortable in here. That's the thing. You know, I'm always kind of concerned anytime I take a vehicle for a longer road test. I'm using it for a lot longer than I typically do. I'm going to be tired. Do I feel fatigue when sitting in it for long periods of time? And I haven't had that experience with the GV70. Nice thing, you got the massaging seats on here, so you can have that go for about 20-minute intervals, which is nice. Ventilated front seats. I mean, all the tech and all the features that you ultimately want on a vehicle. It even has, you know, active lane change when you have the Highway Driving Assist 2 system active. You're on the highway, you've set the cruise control, it's going, and you put the turn signal on, it will move you into the other lane. It's slow. You know, usually you can get into the next lane with the 3 flashes of your lights, but with this system it stays on until it's completely made its lane change, as we've seen with BMW and Mercedes. So it means your lights are flashing for about 9 times before you've finally made that lane change. So the tech is there. Do I use it? Not all the time. I mean, I still prefer driving the car myself, but it's all there. And again, like we've talked about with the other Genesis vehicles I've driven so far, I mean, there really isn't anything missing from a vehicle like this. You could argue something like night vision, but you rarely see it optioned on any of the German vehicles. And aside from that, I mean, okay, soft closed doors. Again, another top-end luxury feature that we don't have on here that I don't see as really being a need. So you've got all of that, and it's the first time I've actually been able to test out the Genesis connected services. I can lock, unlock, remote start the vehicle all from my smartphone app, and it's great because it actually reminded me that I didn't lock the doors. Now, to be fair, I hadn't actually left the car yet. I was doing some stuff in the trunk, but the car was parked, and after about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I hadn't left the car yet, still unlocked. It sent me a push notification and said, hey, your car is still unlocked. You want to make sure you deal with that. And it was seamless to do it. I was able to get remote photos from the front, side, and rear cameras to be able to see what was around me. I woke up in the morning and wanted to see, just to make sure that my car was still there. And sure enough, everything was there. It took about a minute or so for it to download the photos from the car, but it worked great. And that's always one of the things when we test any of those systems. Sometimes the connections, you know, being able to log into the system, connect to the car, use the functionality, it doesn't always work. But so far, it worked out great here. So if you're looking for something that is a little bit more on the sports side, you have a firmer suspension, but not overly firm. You have good performance, you have good ride, the comfort level is good, and you want something that stands out and people are going to notice, then the Genesis GV70 might be the way to go. I have enjoyed it, I like it, and this is probably, I know I keep saying that each one would be the one that I would take, but you know, really, when it comes down to it, compared to the BMWs and the Mercedes that I've driven, I would definitely take this one over it. It ultimately comes down to, would I take this or the G80, which is the big question. I'm a sedan guy. I like cars. I like not having an SUV, but I have to say that this thing has been quite good. I've been very impressed with it over the week that I've had it, so it might be one of those rare times that I actually consider the SUV. If you have any questions about this episode, please let me know in the comments below. You can leave a comment, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.